Great. I'm on my first slide. So yes, thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure to present to you today. So I've been invited to speak a bit on the practical side of entrepreneurship. So moving a little bit away from the more academic side towards getting the rubber on the road here with how to actually become an entrepreneur. And so this is a question for all of us here on this presentation. So, first of all, to be an entrepreneur, you're going to need to be motivated to be an entrepreneur. So why be an entrepreneur? Well, of course, first reason is to become a residual claimant, like buying a share of stock. If you start your own company, well, you own 100% of the shares, initially at least, in that company. And with being the residual claimant for any business, you have, of course, a theoretically unlimited income potential in that business. In addition, you have the potential for multiple income streams. And I would recommend that for most of us, we probably should start our business along with our current job or future job that we may have. And having multiple income streams is not only often an important precondition to eventually becoming wealthy, but in our pandemic-riddled times, it's very important if you have a situation where you get fired or lose your employment because of some type of lockdown situation where maybe the industry you're in can no longer function under these lockdowns. The company you're in goes out of business. So it's important to consider this going forward as potential risk. And this is why all of us should consider developing multiple income streams in our lives. Another thing I want to talk about is the power of compounding. So on the one hand, compounding is a bit seems like magic to us. And this is why Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, that as time goes on towards more advanced stages of growth with compounding growth, that the gains are so huge that it's hard to understand starting out how meaningful this is. Well, with entrepreneurship and having an additional income source, well, all of this income we can essentially put towards investments, towards financial security, and have these growing over time. So starting now while you're young is even more important than when you're my age or potentially even older when it comes to entrepreneurship. On the other hand, we can kind of think of this in another way, in that harking back to our behavioral economics and the work of Kahneman and Tversky on our temporal bias, where we tend to discount future gains much more than the present. Well, in a certain sense, we're probably psychologically ill-equipped to comprehend the opportunity costs that we were missing out on by not starting our business sooner. So if we were really rational, we would probably value the opportunities we have right now to make a difference in starting a business more than you currently do. So kind of need to hack your own psychology a bit and force yourself to get started now, considering those long-term gains and the benefits you'll get from building a business now and having it grow over time. Next slide, please. So with that said, how do you personally actually become an entrepreneur? Well, the advice I can give is to find the best thing that represents the intersection between, on the one hand, what you enjoy doing, on the second point, what you could be the best in the world at, and also the third point, what actually makes money. So coming back to point one, what you enjoy doing. Well, being an entrepreneur, you're going to have to put in extra work day after day, year after year. You're going to have to deal with setbacks. You're going to have to persevere. You're going to have to learn new skills. It's going to be painful in many ways. In addition, you're going to be competing with people who also are looking to achieve the same things you are. And you're going to want to have your passion for what you're doing to be reflected in the quality of your work. And this is going to give you an advantage in what you're doing. So this is why you have to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be willing to wake up, even if things are going bad, even if maybe you're initially kind of losing money or going through difficult patch. If you see a long-term vision that is successful, and you can see a clear path towards that, if you don't love what you're doing, eventually you're going to give up. It's kind of like me doing my PhD, right? I remember initially, like, I loved my subject. At the end, I hated it. And so there's no way I probably could have finished it unless I loved it to begin with. And an entrepreneurial business is probably in a similar type of category. Point two is, what you could be the best in the world at. So, if you think about the structure of an average company, there's something like, on average, about 20 employees in a company on average. Well, backing out from that, you have to think, well, that means that you're going to have to be more resourceful and more dedicated than 19 out of 20 individuals in a population. And of course, you're going to be competing with others, as I said earlier, that have the same goals. So you need to be thinking about, well, where are your particular skills and abilities that are going to allow you to succeed in an area where there may be many competitors vying for the same treasure. And third, what makes money? So for many of us, lots of things could potentially fulfill points 1 and 2, but often not 3. So for instance, if the market is potentially puny for what you're looking at, like something like pet hamster breeding, for instance, as an extreme example, well, it's hard to add a lot of value to the world with something like that. Or on the other hand, if it's something that the ability for you to capture, maybe you can add a lot of value to the world, but your ability to capture it might actually be very small. You might think of something like a musician in this modern era of easy file sharing. Well, you can add a lot of value, but you might not be able to capture much of that value. So you're probably better off doing something else. So your goal is to find that venture, that thing where these 3 elements intersect in the most beneficial way, and this is a recipe for success. Now, one tip I can give on this is that you'll know that you've hit upon the right idea because you will feel it. The temptation for someone who studied business or who wants to make it work is to do some type of calculations, put together a business model, and with some projections that will probably be more rosy than reality. But this type of excogitated, rational, purely rational assessment of the situation will probably be incorrect. You're going to want to feel it. And what I mean by that is that you'll have a deep-seated emotional alarm bell ringing in you that this is an opportunity for you. And if you don't feel that, much of what you're probably forecasting is probably more hope than substance. So wait for the thing and find the thing where you actually feel it deep down. Next slide, please. So once you find that thing, the next thing that you're going to have to do is actually take action on that goal. So, and what action should you take? Well, first of all, visualize the end goal you have in mind for your business, and then systematically backwards engineer your success. What steps do you have to take? What things have to fall into place before you get to that level, and then the level before that, and the level before that, and before that. And then you'll figure out what you have to do right now in order to start building that business. And then once you figure that out, take action right now. Because of course, many of you are at university. The great aim of education is not knowledge. Otherwise, librarians would be the most successful people on the planet, or academics like myself. We're not. It's people who take action. And as the great inventor Thomas Edison so bluntly put it, an idea without execution is just hallucination. Next slide. So I can give a couple tips in terms of entrepreneurship, of ways that can help make this more successful. And one of the things that I find is that a common error that entrepreneurs may make is to try to start more than one business at once. Well, practically speaking, you're going to need to focus your energies on at most probably two things in your life. That's probably going to be either your job or your studies, and next your entrepreneurial venture. So make your business a wild success first before you consider embarking on something else. And the reason being is you're going to come across difficulties that are going to require your full attention. And if you can't place your full attention on that business when it needs it, well, you're probably going to blow up all of your businesses that you're working on. And you're probably not as almighty as it might seem. If you have some initial success in your business, you're probably not as resourceful and productive and perhaps lucky as you will be going forward. So keep that in mind. Next, in terms of point 3, what makes money, in deciding on what makes money, consider Warren Buffett, so the world's greatest investor, his admonition on investing that the first rule is not to lose money. Well, in terms of your business, you're going to be subject to world-class competition trying to take away your prize. Well, think about what is it about your business that's going to lead to a durable competitive advantage. And in thinking about this, I think it's useful to think about what the business that is the most durable business in the world. And a lot of people might say that that's something like Coca-Cola, which has been around for 130 years. But I would argue that it's actually real estate. It turns out, probably not coincidentally, that something like 80% of self-made millionaires made their money in real estate. And the reason being is that real estate has a durable competitive advantage in its location. If you look at some estates, like for instance, Grosvenor Estate in London, it's been around since the 1700s, and you've had businesses and people come and go in that time. You've had the Industrial Revolution sweep through and change completely the nature of business, and yet still these properties are more valuable than they've ever been, whereas almost any business you could possibly think of has been washed away with the tides of competitive forces. So in thinking about a durable competitive advantage, think about how you can make your business real estate if you're not in real estate. And that might be something that you consider your entrepreneurial venture in. Also consider scalability. One secret to entrepreneurship is that it will probably take about the same amount of effort to build a scalable business, so a business that you can magnify your returns in exponential fashion, such as software or franchising or a digital program. It'll probably take about the same amount of effort to build a business like that as it will to build a business that's not very scalable. And typically, an example of this type of business would be one where your personal time and expertise are necessary in order to run that particular business, like certain professional services might be along these lines. So an entrepreneur, you can work just as hard as another entrepreneur, but if you don't choose a scalable business, that other entrepreneurs' results can be many multiples of your own. Also consider sales to be part and parcel of your product. They're not separable. You need, even if you have a product that is 10 times better than your competitors, you need to find a viable sales channel in order to make it make your business a reality. If you attempt multiple sales channels and none of them work, well, you're finished. However, if you find just one sales channel that works, well, guess what? You have a great business. And thinking about Indonesia, well, Indonesia it is a developing country, and but you have great opportunities to sell to the entire world through the internet and also through tourism. So this is something to consider as an advantage for you going forward, and opportunities for you going forward. And of course, Indonesia is also very rapidly developing, and there's more opportunities, I'm sure, now in entrepreneurial ventures and in business in Indonesia than there's ever been at this point at any given time in the past. And of course, as we said, if you're striving to be the best in the world at what you do, and that's all that successful entrepreneurship, of course, is, well, you're going to need a great team behind you of mentors and coaches, professional networks. So if you think about it, well, how could it be otherwise? So start now building that network, find ways to add value to these mentors and the people in this network. And if that's not monetarily, if you're not paying them for them to be your mentor, it's through adding some type of social value. And you can think about for yourself personally how you might do that. But that's how to get these people into your lives and retain them on your team, is to continually add value to their lives. And a bit of some final advice. Once you start being successful and you're making some leeway in your business, there is a time to quit your job and dedicate yourself to growing this business. But at the same time, you might not want to do this too early. Consider first having profits, something like 3 times your employment income before you quit your job. And of course, the reason why is something like the pandemic could happen going forward. Well, if you're earning 3 times your income, even if you have something fairly catastrophic, you'll probably have time to pivot. And even if your income is hurt very substantially, you can probably still survive and be profitable long-term if you have something like 3 times your employment income that you're earning in your business. So consider this as a kind of risk mitigating strategy there. So next slide, please. In sum, what you need to do right now is search out this one thing to focus on that fulfills these conditions of what you enjoy doing, what you could be the best in the world at, and what makes money. And you will feel it when you do, and take action of backwards engineering what you have to do to make this venture a success, and start right now. And in the great words of the tennis player Arthur Ashe, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. And I think you'll be surprised where you'll end up. Thank you very much.